Welcome to the podcast, A Drink with Derek. Follow comedian Derek Richards on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel and watch all episodes of the podcast. Now grab a drink and join your host, Derek Richards.
I love working fundraisers, but they scare me a little bit because you always have these silent auctions. And as you know, black people, we haven't had the greatest experience with auctions. Sure enough, the last one I was at, I got bid on. Next thing you know, I'm standing in some old white people's lawn holding a lantern all night. People couldn't even drive their cars. They were like, that lawn jockey is 6'1". Where can I get one?
Hey, it's Drink with Derek. Derek Richards, your host here in Las Vegas. By the way, you can catch the podcast, all the video versions on YouTube. Just go there, type in A Drink with Derek. You can see all the archived episodes. Also, you can listen to the podcast on Pandora. Just go to Pandora, say A Drink with Derek, and boom, it pops up just like magic. iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud. You cannot get rid of this podcast. It's everywhere. It's even in Flint, Michigan, where my good friend and guest, who has been seen on Comics Unleashed, also NBC's Stand Up for Diversity, one of my dearest friends in this business, dearest humans on the planet, Bryan McCree. How are you, my friend?
I made it, dude.
I know. That's like how you got to go into any conversation when you haven't talked to somebody in a while, coming out of 2020 and rolling into 2021. It's like, hey, what's up? Hey, I'm here.
Dude, that shit was like Game of Thrones. It's like, you know, some of your favorite characters just aren't going to be there next season.
You just don't. I know. You just don't know which character got written out of the plot.
You don't. So, you know, that's why, you know, it seems like all the good people are being taken. So
Yeah.
I try to stay slightly dickish, Derek. Yeah, and gotta be like, yeah, he's still got some work to do down there.
Only the good die young. That's why you're going, hey, you know what? I'm going to be just enough of an asshole to stay alive a little while longer.
Throw a little dick on the table.
Unbelievable. Well, I'm glad you're healthy, and I'm glad you're here. I know we were talking before we even started recording about different family things and, you know, personal loss and things like that coming out of this. But you're here. You look fantastic. You look healthy, which is great. I always like to ask some random goofy questions before we start this thing off. All right. Your favorite carnival food?
Elephant ears.
Okay. Worst movie you ever saw?
Oh, what is that damn Bill Murray movie where he's with the teenage girl and
Oh shit.
what is that fuck? And they had this sexual chemistry through the whole thing and he never fucks her. I'm like, God damn this movie. You gonna fuck her what?
That's good to see you losing your mind. You're sitting there on the couch watching this with your wife, and all of a sudden you just lose it.
Yeah.
I love it.
And you know, even though it's wrong, I'm like, is it gonna fuck this little girl or what?
Like, look, I'm not a fan of statutory rape, but I mean, I've committed an hour and a half of my life to this and a bucket of popcorn.
Dude, I'm an hour 45 invested. Y'all fucking or what, man? God damn.
Your kids are all looking back at you going, what is wrong with you?
That's been my motto when I was single. We fucking or what?
Are we fucking or what? That's it?
I got shit to do.
That's your opening line?
Yeah.
Listen, not for nothing. You get straight to the point.
That's my closer.
That's your closer.
Yeah.
End of the night. So we fucking or what?
Yeah, you know those nights you fucking wined and dined a chick, you've drank all the liquor, And you're just having small talk now,
You're an hour and 45 minutes in.
Something's got to happen.
Just
man.
like the movie.
We fucking, or I go back home.
Well, let me ask you this. Biggest turnoff on a woman?
Fake shit.
Okay.
Fake hair, fake nails, fake eyelashes. I just like natural women.
You didn't say implants.
Implants, fake booty, titties.
Okay.
Any of that. I just don't like fake, man. Even your titties sagging. Let them sag, man. I want to see the natural.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate saggy titties, Derek.
That should be the name of your new album. Bryan McCree, I appreciate saggy titties.
That's right.
Man, you've been at this a long time. You and I met when I had first started out, I'll never forget this, in Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
At Boomerang's Comedy Club, that little weekend room at that Quality Inn. And you were the feature act.
Uh-huh.
And you were absolutely hilarious. I cannot even remember who the headliner was. And I remember you doing a joke about talking about the pain in the ass of, I know I'm going to screw this up, so please forgive me. The pain in the ass of Halloween and returnables.
Yeah.
So you just started giving trick-or-treaters returnables.
That's right. I gave my returnable bottles away.
Never forget that. Literally 27 years ago, I remember that joke.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
Which is hysterical.
That's how I got moved up. Giving headliners a hard time, man. They would call the agent and be like, will you headline this fucker so you can quit featuring for me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you were funny as hell. Like I said, I can't even remember who the headliner was. I mean, he was, funny act, but I mean, you really, really stuck out for me. And you've been in, your family, your father was a jazz musician.
Mm-hmm.
And your aunt was on Broadway.
Yeah.
What did she do? Was she acting, or what was she doing on Broadway?
She was she was one of the only lady baritones. Annabelle Hill.
Okay.
And she was famous she was in Kiss Me Kate, a Cole Porter play.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look her up, Annabelle Hill and Kiss Me Kate, you can hear her song online.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I mean, did you ever think about going that route as far as being a musician or going into acting, or how did this evolve doing stand-up?
Back when I was growing up in the 60s, before they took the arts out of the schools, you had to pick an instrument. And because my dad and my brother, he's also a genius musician. He was playing the pots. He plays drums, and he was playing the pots and pans as a baby, So, of course, I wanted to explore and see if I had any musical talent, and I didn't. Which is, why I do stand-up. But acting is actually where I come from. I'm a trained actor. And which, I moved to LA for almost 3 years, and I didn't go so much for stand-up as I did my acting career. So,
now, what brought you back? Now, you were out there for 3 years. What happened when you went out to LA to pursue acting? How long ago was this?
This was, I went out in 1999.
Okay.
And I came home at the latter part of 2001.
What was that experience like? You go out there to LA, you're trying to get into acting. Did you already have an agent that was pushing you in that direction?
No, man, I went out there cold, and I had the first year, I got an agent, I got a manager. Actually, I had 2 agents, one theatrical and one commercial, and an agent. I did that all in the first year. So by the time I was about to leave, I was getting big auditions, man. I was in auditions. I'd see like Wayne Brady on the list.
Wow.
I'd see the guy that played the black guy from Welcome Back, Kotter, was at a lot of my auditions.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I had. I think if I could have stayed a little longer, I would have had some great success out there. But I got married in 2001. I went out there single,
Mm-hmm.
and my wife, who we had broken up with before I moved to LA, because she said, I don't want to be involved in no motherfucking 3,000 miles away, to quote her.
Yeah.
So,
you're paraphrasing, but still pretty accurate.
yeah. I ain't trying to be no motherfucker 3,000 miles away. I'm like, whoa, okay, whatever. So, I go out to LA and I get on my grind, So we She left. I was gonna be at the Comedy Castle that fall.
Okay.
And she received their emails and she saw me on the list and was missing me and left a message there for me to hit her up.
Right.
So I hit her up and, that love was still there. And we just, picked up where we left off. And, I asked her to marry me shortly after that, moved her and my stepdaughter, she was like 2.5, 3. Actually, she was about 5 when we moved to LA.
Okay.
So I moved them all out to LA and things were going cool, getting a lot of good auditions. And then 9/11 hit. And before my wife and I got married, she had a brain aneurysm. Everybody I know, Derek, that had a brain aneurysm died. And I thought she was going to die, but she didn't.
Right.
She lived, she's thriving. But I had to get her out of LA because we didn't have any health insurance at the time. And if you're on any kind of public assistance and trying to get health care in LA, forget about it.
Right.
Just too many damn people. So I still had my house here in Flint. So I'm like, let's just go home and I can go back on the road. Comic can live anywhere.
Sure.
So we moved back and, went back on the road.
So now you're from Flint originally and you still live there. And admittedly, Flint is typically a punchline for certain things. I'm not saying that to sound like a jackass, but I mean, Flint needs a new PR director is what Flint needs. And I've met some wonderful people from Flint, yourself included, obviously. I've had great shows in Flint. I've done gigs there and people are like, you're going to Flint? I'm like, listen, I'm not going to Afghanistan,
People think we need cover when we go check the mailbox.
Yes.
Cover me, honey. I'm going out. Why would I have my family in a place like that?
Right.
No, the people here are awesome.
Yeah.
It's just that it's the economy, man. It's dollars and cents. And since General Motors pulled out, it's just been a shitstorm here.
Right.
And the economy's so bad in Flint. Last week I saw a pimp on a bike.
That's rough. Yeah. That's hard. He had his hoe in the basket. That's how bad it was.
True story. Yeah. He was 3 feet tall. Which, I know some guys that would buy some midget pussy,
I had a buddy of mine here in Vegas. We went out to this little Irish pub here in town, and there is a quote unquote massage parlor right next door to this place. And he and I go in and we have a few cocktails and we come out and it's got to be 2:30 in the morning. And I glance over to the left where the massage place is. And there is a midget prostitute standing there. I looked at him, didn't miss a beat. I go, whatever she costs, I'll buy her for you. And he looks at me and he didn't miss a beat. He goes, I saw our tab. He goes, as much as I drank, I would need to double that in order to make that magic happen. But
yeah,
everybody's got their own thing.
I was on the road once and, a lot of dudes will do shit just to have the experience. Like, a guy wants a ginger, checks that off.
Right.
A Filipino girl, check that off. Whatever, but midget is always on the dude's list, right?
Right. It's not on mine. Is it on yours? Was it ever on yours?
It was, dude. I just imagine how big my dick would look in those little hands.
See, I feel horrible because my small penis will look even smaller in those little hands. That's the worst part about it.
Oh, shit.
That was never on a list for me. A midget was never one of those bucket list things to go ahead and check off. Although I know that, like I said, if I decided to go that route, I mean, they're pretty easy to get rid of. I mean,
all you have to do is swaddle her.
You say they don't leave, put them in the pillowcase and just roll them out the door. That's so wrong. That's so wrong.
That's messed up.
People need to know that the conversation that we're having right now is literally all of mine and Brian's conversations whenever we get together. So
this is it.
I know this is it. Insanely inappropriate.
Yep. Right
People,
after we order hors d'oeuvres,
yes,
it takes a left.
Cheese sticks show up and families just start parting. They just They move, they separate like oil and water. Like, oh, hey, we got a table next to these two. How about we not even come to this restaurant? We should just leave altogether.
Yeah, and a lot of time they think you're my parole officer or some shit.
Or I'm the manager of your reggae band. Dude, you got 3 kids, and how hard was it to raise kids and be a comedian working the road?
It was tough, man, but the cool thing about stand-up is you choose your schedule.
Right.
So I was lucky enough to my baby's mama. Hate to say that as a black man, but my baby's mama.
Truth is truth.
She lived blocks away from me, literally. So
right.
Instead of being a weekend dad, which I had a weekend father, and I didn't want to be a weekend dad. It sucked. So I'm like, I'm not going to be a weekend father. And we stayed cool enough to where we could work it out with the kids. And she had them for a week and I would have them for a week.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So those weeks she had them, I'd go on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Weeks I had them, I might do something local. And then after I got married, I had my wife who's wonderful. And then, we just became one big family unit. I'd go off on the road and she held down the fort.
Well, that's tough because you say, we do get to pick our schedule, but sometimes our schedule picks us based on finances because you get offered some sweet paying gig and you were planning to be home picking up, whatever at some local place. And you're like, hey, we're going to pay you this much. We're going to take what you were making and add another 0 and fly you out here. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
So that makes it, that doesn't make it any easier, especially if you perhaps may have had an outing planned with the family. And you're like, you know what? I would love for us to be able to do this. However, we can do a lot more of these if daddy takes this gig and flies to wherever.
Yeah, it's a partnership. If you're raising kids as a comic, you got to have good partners.
Right.
And my wife and baby's mama were great partners, and they even got along. Hell, they're Facebook friends. I'm not even Facebook friends with her.
I was going to ask if they got along. That's super cool that they do.
Dude, that's white girl shit.
Because
Black women don't fuck around like that, bruh. Black women are like, I will kill that bitch when I see her.
You were on that show, NBC show, Stand Up for Diversity. How was that put together, and did anything come of that?
So Stand Up for Diversity was a nationwide talent search of comedians. And it culminated in a big showcase out in Hollywood at the Improv. So myself and Lil Rel Howery were the finalists from the Chicago region.
Okay.
So they flew us all out, rented us cars, put us up at a 5-star hotel. And we auditioned for everybody who was anybody at the Improv that night.
Mm-hmm.
So, those competitions are tricky and weird. There's always some shit, right?
Oh, yeah.
And NBC Stand Up for Diversity was billed as the best unsigned talent. But when I get to LA, Derek, my New York compadres, they've had agents and managers on the ground for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them have already transitioned out there and are in fact signed. I saw the guy that won it having this big pep talk with Kevin Hart, and I'm like, oh man, the fix is in. And sure enough, that dude won. He had just got off tour with Kevin, and I love Kevin Hart, but fuck you, man, for fixing the competition if that's what happened.
Now, did anything develop from that after the show, after the competition for you?
It's one of those things, Derek, where I did get some bites, but LA is one of those things. The minute they find out that you don't live out there, they don't have much use for you.
Right.
I had some agents contact me from Disney contacted me. They probably wanted me to play the cool youth pastor that fucks all the mamas or some shit,
Because that happens in all Disney movies. I love that you said Disney. Yeah, Disney contacted me to play the cool youth pastor that fucks all the mamas.
Well, it hits better, you know.
Yes, it does.
And
I don't really see that playing out in a Disney film, but it's time to break new ground.
Which, as a comic, partially true. Disney did contact me,
Right.
But like I said, many of the things that came about from it kind of fell apart after they realized I didn't live there.
Right.
So.
Now you come from a black and white family. What was that like growing up?
So here's the deal with that. So my family, I'm married biracially. My wife is white. I grew up with black parents.
Mm-hmm.
My mom, she was very light. She could have maybe passed for white if she didn't have the black features,
Right.
But
my apologies, I misread that. I thought that you came from. I thought that your father was black and that your mother was white. So
hey, the white's not far away, dude. My
gotcha.
Great grandparents, some of them were white.
Right.
So my grandfather actually had red hair, green eyes. Yeah. So
your grandfather?
My grandfather, dude, he's a big old pimp. He had like kids all over the fucking planet, dude. he was walking around America with his dick over his shoulders, like, "What's up, bitches?"
And now he's riding up and down your neighborhood on a bike.
Yeah, he's dead.
Well, what's that like even now in the landscape of how our society is? Because it's funny because you're married to a white woman. I had a situation that came up, and I do this joke about in my act, and I don't think you've seen it, but it was when I used to work at Ponderosa years ago, and we had joked around with the hostess because she was a knucklehead. She was like 15 years old. She was stupid. My buddy and I were 17, working in the kitchen, and we told her to, as a joke, to seat. We're like, hey, company policy here at Ponderosa, on the weekends, you have to seat all the white people on one side of the restaurant and all the black people on the other side. And she did it. Yeah. And so I do a joke about this on stage. And so I'm in Ann Arbor back in April. Lady comes up after the show, black lady, and she is with her husband, who was also black. And she said, she walks up and she said, she goes, yeah, that joke about the restaurant. She goes, that was inappropriate. And I go, why was it inappropriate? I go, everybody was laughing. And she goes, well, we were the only black people in the room. And I said, no, you weren't. I said, there was a black gentleman sitting right up front. She says to me, swear to God, she says, well, he was with a white woman.
No. Okay.
And so I went and I doubled down and I go, does that make him less black? And she goes, you just don't get it, do you? And I go, I guess I don't. I go, I know he is black and she is white, and they were laughing. I don't know what to tell you. And her husband is already like out the door in Ann Arbor from the showroom. Yeah. And so he's going, come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Come on. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. I mean, he was just like, trying to call her. Come on. Let's get out of here.
Yep. And that's usually how it is too. So my white wife is my white privilege.
So you can go to Panera Bread and Starbucks and get served quickly. Is that what you're telling me?
Dude, between the two of us, we cannot be fucked with. She either goes all Karen on them. Dude, I married Karen, right? She won't call the police because she's afraid of what they'll do to me. But she damn sure about to talk to your manager before we leave this bitch. Yeah, my wife.
I love that.
Yeah, my wife's a Karen. She won't call the police, but she about to fuck up your Yelp rating.
What's the most odd exchange that you have gone through as a couple that you can think of?
Well, I have a similar experience that I want to share after a show. I was out at the Holly Hotel, and you know my act. I play with the race thing because
absolutely,
it's my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I come off stage, and this woman, her party actually lets me know. They're like, dude, the lady that's gonna want to talk to you back there, she's got some issues. I'm like, whatever. So she steps up, dude. She's like She's drunk. She's like, I've got a black child. And I don't appreciate the things you say about race. I said, lady, how old is your black child? She said 3. I was like, let me tell you something. Just because you went and bought a black baby, you holler at me when that baby gets 18 and has to live out in this world, and we'll revisit this conversation.
Was the rest of her party standing there?
Yeah.
Please tell me they were dying laughing.
Dude, they were trying to.
Or were they more incredulous?
They were trying to drag her out, just like you said.
Right.
Yeah. They're like,
yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand, where everybody's trying to, create this, let's all hold hands and hug one another. And then, here was this lady, and the joke is very innocuous. I mean, I've done it in mixed audiences. I prefer to do it in a mixed audience.
Yeah.
Because if you do it with a group of white people, all white people, they'll laugh, but there's like that, I don't know if I should. And that, like we all do, I would much rather do a show with a diverse audience and
Absolutely.
be able to play off of that and kind of, and see the reaction that everybody gets, because then everybody realizes they're like, yeah, this is just a joke. The guy's not saying this to be an asshole. He didn't segregate the restaurant. It wasn't, it's not Selma, Alabama. It's, it's I'm not walking across a bridge and getting hit with a fire hose doing this. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So
I know.
it's crazy.
It's ridiculous. And I'm actually curious about what it's going to be like when I get back out there, because, after this past year, I've got some stuff that I can't wait to stand up on stage, and see how it goes. But yeah, it's weird, man. So my oldest child is white. I met his mom when he was 6 weeks old. So I raised this child, and he's fucking 36 now.
Okay.
So I was taking him to the movie one day, and it was a PG-13, so I had to buy their ticket for him. And my youngest son, he's biracial. So I walked this brown and white kid into the theater. I said, can I have 2 tickets for my kids here? She says, that's not your kid. I was like, lady, please don't make me explain this in front of all these people. If you don't get me a fucking ticket for this boy, there's going to be some shit. You're going to stand here and tell me that's not my child?
Wow. And this was how long ago?
Oh, maybe in the 90s.
All right.
Yeah.
Again, still not the 60s in rural Mississippi.
No, in the North.
Wow. It's crazy. Have you thought about the way you're going to comedically express what's going on in our culture right now?
I think a lot of what I talk about, especially lately, has to do about how I am in the world. It's personal.
Right.
I don't make a lot of jokes about, I don't know. Everything comes from me.
You don't make jokes about things that are not related to you. I mean, I've seen you act enough times and hilarious, but all the stuff that you do comes from inside you.
Yeah, specific to me. So it's not like I'm denigrating one person or.
No, exactly.
It's all about me. So if people get offended from some shit that happens to me, they ain't gonna fuck themselves, because that's my life and that's what I'm sharing.
Well, and the culture that we have around us affects everyone individually. And then from a comedic perspective, from a comedian's mind, you're going, okay, this is how this affected me, and this is how I'm going to make this into a joke or make this as funny as I possibly can.
Right.
And hopefully the audience does, relate to it, because, and like you said, there's always going to be somebody who's going to come up and have some kind of commentary about what you do, which, by the way, if you are watching this, listening to this, and you're in the audience at a comedy show and you think the comedian really cares about your opinion, you are so sadly mistaken.
We don't give a shit. 9 times out of 10, we've driven for hours, we're tired, and we're ramping it up just to give them the best show we possibly can. We could give a fuck about what they got to say about it.
And you have no idea how much fun we make of you afterwards.
Oh my gosh.
You look so stupid. You're probably going to be in the next show when someone says, oh, hey, you're going to make a joke about me in your next show? Yeah, if you keep acting like an asshole, yes, you're going to find a way.
You damn Skippy. Yeah, I was out in K-Pac, Michigan once. and I was doing a private show for John for a car dealership.
Oh, John, the people that own the
Yeah.
venue that you produce a show at up there. Yes.
Yep, John and Janet. So a friend of mine who's Black, we grew up together, known each other since we were 12. She's from Minneapolis and was home for the holidays. And this was around the holiday season. So I took her with me to the gig. And you know, John, he feeds everybody. You know, no matter who.
Oh, they're the nicest people in the world up there.
Yeah, dude. He said, just let everybody in the party eat and you guys go help yourselves. Cool. So they get their food. They sit down there eating. So my girl and I, we go up, get a plate. And we're sitting at the bar just eating and laughing, catching up on stuff. This owner of this car dealership comes up with two of his people from the fucking body shop. Just a couple porters, you know, and it's like, do I know you? I was like, you know, I'm a comic. I perform all over the country and other countries. I'm like, I don't know, do you? He says, do I know you? I'm like, dude, I don't know. He said, well, I'm asking you because I see you and your girl eating my food. And I'm like, oh, it just hits me like a ton of bricks because, you know, when I get dressed in the morning, Derek, I don't identify as, just a nigga getting dressed. You know? I don't identify.
I do, by the way. I'm not going to say what you just said, but that's exactly how I identify when I wake up in the morning.
So I forget that I'm in the skin.
Right.
So then it hits me like a ton of bricks. Oh, it's because I'm Black. Me and my girl are Black. She thinks we just fell in here off the street for a free meal?
Crashing their party.
In Cape, Michigan. There's not a Black person within miles of that place, right? And we just came in for a fucking buffet, really? So, so I lean in. I'm like, dude, I'm your comedian tonight. And he gets quiet. And the dudes behind him are like, oh, shit. And he doesn't say one more word. He just walks away, right?
Game on.
Doesn't apologize.
No.
I looked at my girl. I was like, I'm about to light his ass up. So the first 7 minutes of my show was on his back.
Was on him.
Oh, yeah.
Now, did they laugh or was it more for your benefit just to kind of get it off your chest?
No, I won't do anything if it's not going to be funny, dude. They're
right.
Crying laughing because they probably know what a dick he is.
How did he react after the show? Did he come up and say anything afterwards or?
Hell no. And he was sitting with his wife and she looked super embarrassed that he even did that. She probably didn't even know he did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ridiculous. That cracks me up. You're still part of one of my favorite road stories, and we talk about this. You had booked a gig out in Fenton, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And we drove by this bar. I can't even remember the name of the bar.
Okay. The name of
on the way to your gig.
It's the Old Hickory.
The Old Hickory. And it's tucked back. I mean, so you're going down this road, and it's a big tree-lined road. It's a beautiful area out there.
Yep.
Wooded, nice, green, and so there's this little bar kind of tucked back, and I love those little sketchy off the beaten path bars. I'm like, that seems like a cool place to go to. So I go to your gig, do the show, and we're talking, and I go, man, let's go get a drink over at this place down the street. And you're like, no, we are not going there. And I go, why? And you're like, no, me with this skin, I am not going in that bar because it wasn't like an alleged hangout for white supremacists or Klansmen or whatever.
No,
I can't recall how that started.
Well, this is why I love you, Derek, because you are one of my white friends that I know doesn't see color because you forget I'm Black. And so the gig that we were at where we were welcome was Snapping on the Water. That was the gig we're welcome at. Now, when I started booking that, it was a rough-ass white biker bar, dude.
Mm-hmm.
There would be conversations with the owner like, hey, man, I didn't know we let niggas in here. And God bless Kirk. Kirk was like, say some more shit about my dude like that, I'll bust you in the face. So I damn sure wasn't trying to go off campus.
Right.
To another bar that I'm not necessarily welcome at. And
Gotcha.
You were like, I'm going to be lynched, Derek. You were like, why do you think that? I'm like, dude, tree is in the name. It's the old hickory.
That's right.
I'm not going to be hung up.
That's right. And I said, and I remember saying this, I go, look, let's just give it a chance. I go, let's walk in the door. If you feel the room at all not comfortable, we're out of there. And you were a good sport about it. You're like, okay, cool. So we opened up the door and Hall & Oates was playing on the jukebox. And I turned to you and I go, you're fine. I go, no hate crime has ever been committed to Hall & Oates.
Private eyes.
Private eyes watching you.
Private.
Which almost has like a Coen Brothers movie feel to it. Just that real dark comedy where like here's this black guy getting lynched, and then here's like, you know, Sarah Smile from Hall & Oates playing while it's going down. It's not Molly Hatchet or Leonard Skinner or what you would expect. It's just this is the music that's playing in here? Okay.
Dude, that is the greatest joke I've ever written that's never worked.
I remember you telling me that. I was so pissed off. I so thought that was going to be a hit. There's nothing worse than thinking something that you write it down. You're like, this is funny. I'm reading it. It's funny. I tell my friends it's funny. You get on stage and nothing happens. And a good friend of mine, whom you know, Pat Godwin, he said, he goes, you know what? We're not in the funny business. We're in the laugh business.
That's true.
And I never forgot that. He goes, you can write the funniest shit in the world, but if they ain't laughing, they ain't laughing.
I don't know. Maybe I can use it in a sketch or something, but I still think it's hilarious. I just can't make it work on stage.
Yeah, I know. And I've sat there when you and I were talking about it, and I was trying to think of I'm like, and you told me how the joke went, and I'm like, this should work.
I know.
That's the worst part about it. You're like, shit.
Yep.
It's like a perfectly drawn up play. The receiver's open. Why can I not connect with him and he scores? But the nature of the business.
It is. And
I know.
I think because, you know, the predominant demographic in the clubs we play is white.
Right.
You know, maybe it would work somewhere that's half and half, somewhere like the Stardome or something.
Right.
But
yeah, in Birmingham, Alabama, yeah.
Yeah, that I love that club because it's split right down the middle, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's I was gonna say, and it's actually sad. The white people on one side and the black people on the other.
By law.
By law. That's not because of some dumb 15-year-old hostess. That's just how it's written in the Alabama Constitution.
Yeah, it's just Alabama.
That's so wrong. You've had, as hard as it is to travel on the road, you've had to deal with, you have sickle cell anemia.
Yep.
Which has branched off into some other different health challenges that you've dealt with through the years. How hard is that for you to deal with those? Because like I said, if you're on the road, you deal with, you do fast food, you just try to grab something at a gas station, get back in the car, take off, go, you get to the club or the bar, and it's like, yeah, we got chicken wings and nachos, and you're like, oh, this is not going to help my situation here. What's it like being on the road, dealing with those health challenges, and then also trying to be funny?
It's complicated, man. Because the heavy lifting in stand-up is the driving,
right?
And the traveling and the flying or whatever. It's getting there is half the battle. Once you get there, that's the easy part.
Right.
Getting on stage, that's the easy part. Fucking getting there is a grind, and it's been complicated, man. I've had some interesting situations arise from it. I was doing a college tour once, and I was in West Virginia, and I had a sickle cell crisis and had to go to the hospital. Now, West Virginia, not necessarily known for its health care.
No.
So this hospital is so archaic. they listened
How
to
archaic was it?
It's so archaic that they went to give me an X-ray. I walk into the room. There's no fucking equipment. There's just a bitch with a fucking etch-a-sketch. She's like, okay, stand still. Oh, fuck, I fucked up. Hang on.
So you had this happen going to a gig.
Yeah, it was after a show. And I needed some fluids and pain meds. And still had one more stop to make.
Right.
So I had to get right so I could make it to the East Coast and do this last stop. So I could come home for the holidays. So, yeah, it's tricky, man. I just, it's been, I've had instances where I've had to do the gig, go to the hospital, come out that next day, maybe check myself out, go do my set, and come back to the hospital. Yeah.
Ugh.
So it's challenging, but, determination is a bitch, and also the love of the game. I love comedy so much.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't, in the grand scheme, I don't think I've missed more gigs than any healthy person.
Right.
Just
and you had to really watch it too, especially during COVID.
Yeah.
Because of sickle cell, which led to, I think you had mentioned earlier, you have COPD. Is that correct?
Yeah, COPD. Pulmonary hypertension, all kind of shit that stems off the sickle cell. But, I think, I've always dealt with my illness with humor.
Right.
So, and it always translates to the stage. I had a club owner once. He called me Smiley. And I said, why do you call me that? He said, dude, you're one of the happiest comedians I know. You come in here and you're smiling. I'm like, dude, I got the best job on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to work for an hour. And you're going to pay me a nice sum. Comics that run around mad and all, I don't get it, dude. And I hear about how comics are dicks to people. I'm like, why?
Yeah, there's a lot more there than,
Yeah,
there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot more happening that they. Yeah, when I think a lot of those people too, I think when you come from a situation like yourself, when you've gone through the health challenges that you've gone through, and you're just grateful for every opportunity that you have. I mean, every day that you're alive is another, is a good day because there's so many opportunities where that could have been taken away from you.
Dude, I thank God every night for every day, no matter how hard it is, because I got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I love, even if it's a bad day, I love just being able to wake up and have my feet hit that ground and try some more.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the best attitude of anybody that I know in this business, because like you said, you can really control a lot of your own destiny in this business. There's certain things that are dictated to you that you cannot control, like with anything in life.
Right.
But you can really kind of control a lot of this stuff. And what I respect about you is that you don't take shit from people.
No.
And you crack me up. I don't have an interactive Facebook page, but I have heard stories from other comedians, and they go, man, you see what Bryan McCree said to so-and-so? And the beauty of it is, it's like me in college, my illustrious 1 year of college, where I didn't have to actually read the whole book. It's Cliff's Notes. So somebody would take a screenshot of the conversation. I'm like, oh, damn, that guy did piss off Bryan. And I just start laughing my ass off. And you and I had talked about this before. Where does that come from? The fact that you're like, listen, you don't take shit from people. You have no problem calling people out on their shit, which I appreciate, because in this era of passive aggressive behavior, and nobody wants to just air things out and just resolve situations. I mean, as humans, we're not wired for conflict.
No.
That's why you see so much more passive aggressive behavior than anything else. Was there someone in your family that you grew up with that you mirrored their behavior?
My mom didn't suffer fools.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I know about my illness too is stress brings on bad outcomes for me. Stress brings on a sickle cell crisis. So it's better for me if I get it out of me instead of stewing on shit, And I know the instance you're talking about. It was a dude that fucked me years ago out of the gig, man. He So, we've got this itinerary and we build our budgets on our itinerary. Now, I got a house full of kids. I got 3 little kids here at the time. I got a wife. I got shit to do. I got people to feed. And I get a call the week of show from the agent saying, hey, man, I'm going to have to cancel you. I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, yeah, so-and-so went behind us and went to the club owner and gave him a sob story and took the gig.
Right.
And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So said guy is going to come back to Michigan and hang out. And he's on Facebook. It's like, oh, like he's some fucking big hero. He's coming back. Let's hang out with this motherfucker. And I had to let people know, fuck that dude, man. He fucking took money out of my pocket. And I told him what he did. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And, people were like, well, he's sick now. And I'm like, I've been sick my whole career. I was sick when the motherfucker stole my gig. Fuck him. I'm sick now.
I love it. No, and like I said, I'm not saying this to make fun of anything. I respect it. Because I try to have the same attitude with things where it's like, you know what, just don't. I'm a great friend, but I am a bastard of an enemy.
I can only imagine. I'm glad you're my friend.
I just, if there's ever any kind of conflict, I just always want to try to let's resolve this.
Yep.
And if we're going to be mad at each other, let's be mad at each other and express what it is. And then if you're still pissed off after we get done with this conversation, then so be it. But at least I want to be able to give my best effort to try to look, let's find out where the miscommunication took place. Or if somebody, and listen, if I screwed up, I'll go, look, I fucked up. I'm sorry. And if somebody else does that, I would like them to at least have that same level of awareness and say that too.
Right. But most people won't.
No.
They'll just act like you're in the wrong. And, I just don't I have very thin skin for that shit.
Yeah.
A memory came to my mind about my mom, speaking of how she never suffered fools. So every Christmas was like Festivus in our house because my oldest brother would always air his grievances, right? So, right? When mom breaks out the sweet potato pie, he goes into his fucking grievances, right? And about what a horrible parent she was to him. And my mom was cool as a cucumber one day. She used to smoke these more menthols, these long ass skinny.
Oh yeah.
And she was so cool. She pulled out her more and was like, so Vincent, what kind of parent were you? And he was a shitty parent, dude. And we were just at the dinner table like, oh. He left, never came back to Christmas.
Done. Problem solved. I got no problem with somebody not coming back around.
Fuck them. Yeah. We got to do this every year about how horrible a parent. Yeah, you got your opinion. Keep it to yourself. We heard it last year, bro.
Right. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
She's a great parent for me. Fuck you. You were unparentable.
God bless your mom.
She was the best, dude.
God bless your mom.
Yep.
What is your
shoulder? That's
that's so I couldn't see exactly what that picture was over your shoulder there. That's cool.
That's mom's diggy.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Last question here. What song or musician was your go-to to get a woman naked?
The Isley Brothers. The Isley Brothers. That's my era, man. Those guys, there's something about them. Ron Isley had the silkiest voice, and his 2 older brothers, like, if his silky voice didn't do it, them big ass brothers would scare the bitches out of panties. The one older brother was like 6'7", 300, but they were like linebackers, dude.
Jesus Christ. Oh, you know what? We need to be in a restaurant having food and chasing away family members again here real soon, my friend. I'm going to be hopefully getting back up to Michigan here pretty soon, and we need to get a chance to hang out again, and it'd be great to do a show with you at some point, but if not, we at least get a chance to hang out and catch up. You are, again, a dear, dear friend of mine. I'm so happy that you're healthy coming out of all this, especially with all the things that you've got going on. And, God bless you and your family and everybody over there. And I hope everything continues to roll along for you. BryanMcCree.com is your website. All the social media places people can find you. I know you're on Instagram, Facebook as well.
Yep. Twitter. I don't do much, but yeah, at Bryan McCree. I'm all over.
At Bryan McCree.
MCCREE.
And if you want to see how pissed off he can get, go to his calendar and then call that venue and book your own show on the date that he was going to be there.
Fuck you, man.
I love you, buddy. Oh, man, I'll see you soon, my friend.
Thanks for listening to A Drink with Derek. Find out when Derek is appearing near you by checking out DerekRichards.com. See you next time for A Drink with Derek.